Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and there was an article posted today to Daily MTG by Mark Rosewater that is extremely interesting. And I'm not even being sarcastic. I mean, this is like legit interesting. This is one of those peek behind the curtains at Wizards of the Coast to their inner workings and all that just is really telling, both in like oh wow, that's how they messed it up way, and also like oh, that's interesting way. Like, it's both. It's a roller coaster. So Mark shares in this article how they designed certain cards for Modern Horizons. And it's a really long article, so I thought I'm going to make this video covering the things that I found most interesting, just the individual little statements made by him that I'm like, whoa, because hopefully it'll blow your guys' minds as well. So first we start with slivers. So as he puts it, one vision design meeting, we decided to focus on slivers. We knew we wanted to include them in the set because, one, the fans have been clamoring for them to return for quite a while. Let's talk about that for a second. Apparently they thought people were being serious. I mean, a small portion were, and I think that's what threw them off, but it's like, oh, haha, we need more squirrel tribal. Haha, we need unicorn tribal. Like, it's a joke. Like, people are saying, haha, we need more slivers because, like, I'm being ironic because slivers are the worst and everybody hates them. Like, I guess they took them seriously. They thought they weren't kidding and that it wasn't a joke. And I get it. A lot of people are like, I like slivers. Yeah, that's because they're overpowered as hell. I get why people would like them, but nobody else likes them. Your opponents don't like them. So everybody's saying, we need more of them. It's the same joke as we need more infect cards. Nobody wants more infect cards, but people constantly make that joke, oh, infect needs to come back. Ha ha ha. When are you reprinting it, Mark? So yeah, Mark thinks people were actually being serious about this. Shocking. So he says, yeah, the people wanted them back, and slivers were a great choice for a nostalgic set, which this apparently was. So told ya, Masters 25-2. That's what it feels like. That's what it is. And number two, the hardest part about making slivers is finding enough abilities to put on them. I mean, no, you could not do that since that's what everybody hates about slivers. I mean, legit, that's the problem with slivers. Everybody's like, oh, turn 4, they all have double strike, flying, lifelink, and indestructible. Screw you. So finding enough, no, putting too many on the cards would be the problem. That's the hard part. But it gets worse, and this is probably the most aggravating part of the article. The rest of the article, it's like, okay, I get it. Like, that's cool, that's neat. This just pisses me off. So I am not kidding. I am going to read this verbatim. You're going to think I'm making this up, but this is what he wrote. I kid you not. The meeting started innocently enough with us pitching some safe, obvious choices for things to put on slivers. But then we started to one-up each other, trying to come up with the craziest mechanics we could put on them. How about Outlast? How about Unearth? How about Exalted? How about Cascade? We laughed and then we wrote them all down. And then somebody piped in, how about we stop showing up to these meetings drunk? What the hell? This went from some, like, geek out, I'm crazier than you are, like, measuring contest to, no, seriously, write that down. We're actually going to do this. So I've been asking myself all through spoiler season, how did slivers get this out of control? The answer is they all just went completely bat crazy in a freaking design meeting. And then nobody had the balls to go back on it. They're all just like, oh, I'm crazier than you. I'm even crazier than you. I'm completely insane. And then the next person's like, oh my gosh, go great on slivers. Wait. I brought my wife's purse to work. Hold on. He pulls out the lipstick, draws freaking Joker lips and like makeup all over himself and says, I'm the Joker, bitch. Let's put Cascade on a sliver. I'm freaking crazy. How do I even still work here? Everybody else just laughs and they're like, you absolute mad lad. But seriously, write that down though. We're going to do that. You know what? Whoever said, yes, let's write that down. I'm taking notes. Let's actually do that. That's the craziest person at this meeting, not Mr. Jokerface. I wish somebody secretly recorded this. Wizards employees, if you have a secret recording of this meeting, I want to put this on my channel. I mean, after they were like, let's give it Cascade, and then they like took it seriously, I think somebody legit was like, hey guys, you think that's savage? You think y'all crazy? Let's make a sliver. It's just a picture of a with legs on it. What keyword should we give it? I don't care. I'm the craziest one in this meeting, motherfucker. And everyone's like laughing like, oh, this is getting so savage. Oh, y'all too crazy for me. I'm going to lunch, okay? But seriously, write that down though. We might be able to make that happen. So thanks, Mark, for that deep insight into how these meetings probably go. I know I may have read between the lines a little bit, but I mean, who says let's give slivers Cascade and doesn't get fired on the spot? I mean, it can't be that far off from how I'm imagining it. Well, in fact, he says, we laughed, then we wrote them all down. Now, not all of our list made it onto cards. Okay? Cascade made it. What didn't make it? Protection from creatures? Did that not make it? Did that one hit the cutting room floor? Like, how out of touch bonkers crazy are these people? Seriously. This is how Scarab God gets made, okay? I'm convinced. It's got to be the same people in the same process. Let's add this to it. No, let's add this to it. Let's add like 6 more effects to it. Oh, this is going to be so crazy. What do you mean people want it banned? What do you mean it's ruining the entire game? Okay, guys, we went too far. So anyway, moving on, we've got Endling, which everybody said this is part of a 5-card cycle. It's the black one finally printed. There was, it's a monocolored cycle, and it started way back in Urza's saga with Morphling, okay? So get this, he says it is the longest time that it's ever taken to finish a 5-card cycle, 21 years. And actually, it was up until recently a 3-card cycle because Brightling, remember that? The white mythic that was very underrated from Battle Bond? Well, that was in Battle Bond very recently. Boy, that card unfortunately has dropped quite a bit though. It's looking like it's about $4 online. Ouch. But it was one of the single highest price spikes I've ever seen in my entire life at the time. So, yeah, that's why I held on to mine. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not buy listing this for $2. It's too good of a card. Are you kidding me? This will go up. And then I sold them at like, I don't even know. I want to say 30. So the card Generous Gift, I doubt I'm going to put like these individual little examples up on the screen because they'd be up there for like 10 minutes. But I mean, you guys saw the card. So Generous Gift is the 3-cost white instant uncommon, destroy target permanent, its controller creates a 3/3 green elephant creature token. Well, that is a throwback to Beast Within, which is a 3-cost green card that does the exact same thing, except destroy target permanent, its controller puts a 3/3 green beast creature token onto the battlefield. So that card, Beast Within, was a drastic mistake. Huge. You might think, why? Well, one of the number one things that pisses me off during every spoiler season ever is when cards, based on what color they are, do not stay in their lane. One of the worst things that can be done in Magic is having cards jump out of their typical color identity and typical mechanic limitations. Or like color pie restrictions or the golden unwritten rules of Magic or whatever. But I'll let Mark explain it. So he says, one of green's weaknesses is its over-reliance on creatures. And remember, he's not saying that's a bad thing. That's like every color has their specialty and then a downside. Like blue creatures have low attack power. So to be specific, he says, in particular, it's not supposed to be able to kill a creature without having a creature itself. That is like the unwritten rule of the green color is you can't remove an opponent's creature unless it involves you having a creature. This is why Fight is green's main weapon in most sets. It uses its own creatures to kill the opponent's creatures. Beast Within references creatures as it makes a token, but it doesn't require a creature to play. Thus, it allows green to do something it's not supposed to do. Which is remove a creature threat without itself having any creatures, like in play or in the battlefield or anything. It's one of green's biggest color pie breaks. So this is one of the most broken green cards ever printed in the entire history of the game is what he's saying, and I agree completely. And you're probably still thinking, it just blows up a permanent or a creature, whatever you want, and then gives you a 3/3. That's kind of greenish. No, colors need to stay in their lanes. They need to have weaknesses. This is why 3 and 4 color decks are so broken and why sideboarding from them is so Swiss Army. It's because they can do everything. You can't have decks do everything. You can't have mono decks do everything. That's even worse. So when you have a red card that says gain 10 life, you've got a little bit of a problem there because red's not supposed to be able to do that. So now you don't have to run white and you've got a super deck without having the, downsides and issues of running a 3 or 4 color deck. So a straight up just removal card, universal removal in green, is so problematic. Still, Mark doesn't have the balls to suggest they ban it, I guess, because it's still legal. Beast Within is still legal in every format. So in this article, he admits that they made a mistake. He admits that they were wrong, but I guess he stopped short of, doing anything about it. That's why Wizards, ban decision department, whatever the hell makes playtesting, R&D, I don't know, whoever makes the decisions on bannings, their policy of, well, is it in any decks? Is it actually problematic? Is it taking over the meta? And if the answer is no, they don't touch it, that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. What is the first thing they did when they invented Modern? They pre-banned, 20 cards because they knew they would be problematic. They didn't wait for them to become problems. They're not like, let's wait and see. They just said, we know these cards will be broken, and they pre-banned them. That's how you do it. That's how you manage a ban list. And the only time they've done that recently is on Arena, where for one of the events they pre-banned, I think 2 cards. They were so confident they would be a problem for that one special specific event that they just said, screw it, we're not going to wait and see. We know this will be problematic. And they did something about it. They took action, and the event was way better because of it. I believe that was the every creature that enters the battlefield automatically fights something else special event tournament thing. I don't remember what the hell they called it. Yeah, they need to do that more. And they need to just ban things on principle. Not who plays it, not let's measure its stats. Not, just look at the card and tell me if it's wrong. And if it's wrong, admit you were wrong and get rid of it. So anyway, this time they did it. So they wanted to reprint this card, but they wanted to correct it. So they made it white because, well, he makes one of the dumbest statements I've ever heard in my life. And it's only half right. So he says, okay, if green isn't supposed to do this, what color is? The answer I always give is white. White is the best at overall removal. See, that he's right about. But the whole statement is, white is the best at overall removal and is the color that most often gives the opponent something when it destroys one of their permanents. If that sounds wrong to you, that's because it is. That would be blue, Mark. They're the transmutation abjuration guys, okay? They turn stuff into frogs. They destroy something and replace it with something else. I mean, there's literally a Simic card that does it right now. There's exile creatures replacing with sphinxes. I mean, blue has way more examples of, okay, I got rid of something, but I'm giving them something. Or like effective removal, which is like, yeah, I strapped an aura to it, and now it's a 1/1 defender wall. I mean, the permanent's effectively gone. You've removed it and replaced it with something else. So yeah, the exile it or remove it from play and replace it with something else, that is absolutely not white. White exiles it, done. That's it. White is like, I'll give you a chance to bring it back. If you could blow up the card that put it in exile, you can have it back. That's kind of their thing, but giving them something up front, almost never. I mean, Path to Exile. That's the only one I can think of. All the rest are just exile, board wipe. Nothing. They get nothing from it. Oh, the stupid dinosaur exile that nobody plays. Okay, there's 2 examples. Wow. So I don't know how we can make a statement that incorrect. I really, it's shocking. But he's right that white has more just outright removal. So that's how Generous Gift came about from one of the biggest mistakes in the history of the game, which is Beast Within. I didn't say problematic or damaging. I said just biggest mistakes, and it was. So another one, a lot of you know the history of this. It's Goblin Oriflamme. We get a little bit of revisionist history by Mark here. This is very debated by the people who know the story. So Goblin Oriflamme is probably what I would say is the number 2 most broken card in all of Modern Horizons. So it's a 2-cost red enchantment, attacking creatures you control get +1 attack. Permanently, forever. Not red creatures, not goblin creatures, not it's just all attacking creatures you control, no restriction. Utterly ridiculous, utterly broken. It doubles the damage output of a goblin deck. For 2 mana, it just basically ends the game. Utterly broken, completely overpowered. And they agree, because what he says is Alpha is famous for having a number of misprints. Really? That's what we're going with, Mark. Okay. One of them was a card called Orcish Oriflamme. The card was supposed to cost 3 generic +1 red, but it was accidentally costed on its alpha version to 1 generic plus red. And if you look at the card, yeah, the alpha version is a 2-cost, and then later versions are 4-cost. The way that I heard the story is that they thought 2 was perfectly appropriate. It wasn't, it was a mistake. It's just they didn't accidentally misprint the card. They just initially thought 2 was an appropriate cost. So that's the version of the story that I heard. I don't know about you guys. So was it problematic to give all attackers +1 for 2? Let's check how that went. It was fixed in beta, but for a while in the early days, tournaments had cards function as printed rather than have all cards work the same. Oracle hadn't become a thing yet. That made the Alpha Orcish Oriflamme a stronger card. You think? It was actually restricted in the very first banned and restricted list, which meant that you could only play 1 per deck. So it was basically one of the first cards to be banned, basically. It was that broken and that big of a mistake and that disruptive and that detrimental to gameplay and that horrifically overpowered. So what did they do? They reprinted it verbatim. They reprinted the broken original overpowered version as is with no changes. The stupidity is mind-blowing. So he just told this whole story about, wow, it was such a disaster. It was one of the first ever to be restricted on the first BNR announcement. Oh my gosh, this was such a disastrous mistake. Well, then why did they just print it? Again, he says, interestingly, time has shown that the 1 plus red cost isn't remotely close to being broken. Here's a fun question. How could time show that if the card didn't exist? You're basing that on what stats? The closest card I could find costs 4, and there's a similar card that costs 5. I thought there was a goblin-specific version of this that costs 3. So there is absolutely nothing in the game to compare this to unless he's thinking of something that I'm not thinking of. So maybe his justification is Modern is so out of control, the power level is so ridiculously incorrectly managed by our wonderful banning team that YOLO, who cares? Screw it, just print the card. Modern's broken anyway, who cares? Maybe that's what he's trying to say. I don't know. So because everybody there is just such an absolute mad lad savage, they were actually going to name the card Alpha Oriflamme to lean into the joke that the Alpha 1 cost 2 and was horrifically broken in game ruining. Ha ha ha, funny joke. The finished card ended up being themed as a goblin card, but the word Oriflamme was kept as a nod to the original design. You spelled disaster wrong. It was autocorrected to design. Whoops. One final piece of trivia. By the way, if you thought this couldn't get worse, I designed this card for the original Time Spiral, but it didn't end up making it to print. Why? Why? I want to know why. I really want to know why that is. Is it because it's too powerful and everybody told you to piss off? Was it just, oh, this is a tough cutting decision, I don't know, cut this one? Or was it everybody in R&D and playtesting was like, Mark, you've lost your damn mind. Why the hell would we reprint a blatant mistake? A proven to be overpowered card. What the hell is wrong with you? Is that why it didn't make the cut in Time Spiral? They should have titled this whole section, Why This Card is Completely Insane and Never Should Have Been Printed. I mean, he's literally like explaining why this should never have been printed and then just says, nah, it's okay. Time has shown that it's not broken. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. So more insights into how card design works. We got Nature's Chant. So this is a 1 generic and then hybrid green-white. So 2 cost instant, destroy target, artifact, or enchantment. Very good flexible card, very powerful. So he says, we made this card during the hackathon, which by the way, what was that, a 7-day or 3-day, 2-day something? I don't know. I think it was 2-day. So they like designed this whole set in like 2 days or whatever and called it a hackathon. Wow. Well, not the whole set, but the basis for it, now that they threw it together in a shockingly short amount of time for no reason that I can discern. I suspect it's because they all think they're a bunch of savage mad lads and they're like, guys, let's just like lock ourselves in a room for like 2 8-hour days in a row and design an entire set. How wild and crazy would that be? Everybody at Wizards has lost their fucking minds. I am completely convinced of that at this point. So anyway, they were inspired to try to make a full 10 card cycle out of it. For each color pair, they wanted an iconic spell that appeared at the same cost in both colors. We tried and we really tried, but we just never got a cycle that lived up to this first card. So in the end, we just made the cool card by itself. Let me translate that. We couldn't get it done, but we left this one in anyway because, I don't know. I have no explanation. He has no explanation. Who knows how this card made it in when it was supposed to be part of a cycle? But just saying, they were all supposed to be hybrid. There were supposed to be 10 of them, and they were supposed to have, I guess, optional effects. Like it was supposed to, because this one's destroy target, artifact, or enchantment. So I mean, you can imagine what like the white-blue one would be. It would be typical white-blue, and then, red-black. You can imagine what that would be. Probably shrink a creature or deal damage to it. But I believe what he's saying is he wanted them all to cost 2 and be hybrid and be instant, which would step on the toes of like every major staple ever. I mean, you'd have like, well, I'd say a better plummet, but that already costs 2. You'd probably have, a lot of spells that cost 3 that now cost 2 and they're hybrid. And now this is the best version of them. Oh, and they're printed at common. Gee, I wonder why that didn't work out. He says they cut the other cards because they couldn't live up to how awesome this was basically. But I think what they did is they had to water them down because they're like, oh, but that would be like a replacement for a mythic card. Mark, we can't have that cost 2. You've lost your damn mind. I imagine that's how that discussion went. Now, if you want by far the least logical one in this entire article, and remember, He justified the Oriflamme card by listing all the reasons it never should have been printed and how much it ruined the game, okay? This one's even better on the logic scale. Segovian Angel, 1/1 for 1, White Angel, Flying Vigilance. But remember, Segovian. Now, remember I said this is awfully small for an angel. A 1/1 angel for 1. I can't think of an angel that costs even like 2. There might be one, but they tend to start at 3. Angels are notoriously kind of like sphinxes. They're up there. So the first version of this, he wanted to do like younger versions of the creatures, I guess, because we got like young Urza and young Yawgmoth, like chronologically. So I guess he was like, oh, let's do that. And he was going to do young Sarah. Well, I have a feeling since Sarah was created, she was more powerful than this. So he was going to print young Sarah Angel, which was going to cost 3. It was going to be a 2/2 Flying Vigilance. And that's it. Which obviously is weak as hell. I'm glad they settled on what they did. But yeah, I think that would have been an insult to Sarah because I don't think angels like power up or level up over time or upgrade their gear. Or they're pretty much just created and they are what they are. That's my understanding of the lore. So during Vision design, Kelly Diggs came up with a way to one-up the joke, making use of an old in-Magic joke, one that dated back to 1994 from Legends, called Segovian Leviathan, and that's an old creature card. So the name of the card was Segovian Leviathan. Remember, Segovian Angel is the card we're talking about. So it's a 5 cost in blue, Island Walk 3/3. So as far as Leviathans go, that's not very big. So he says the card is a 3/3, and in the art, it's shown swimming with whales that are tiny in comparison. Yeah, this thing is about 50 to 100 times bigger than like a really big whale in the background and in the foreground. So it is a huge, mega sea monster. So he says, yeah, it's shown swimming with whales that are tiny in comparison. Rather than just own up to the odd disconnect, the creative team at the time, then called Continuity Team, explained that this creature was from the plane of Segovia, and on that plane, everything is tiny. So when you summon a Leviathan, you're getting a much smaller creature than you might normally get if you summoned a Leviathan from any other world. Thus, Segovia, the plane of tiny creatures, was born. So that was their explanation for this. You might already be thinking, what about that makes an ounce of sense? So Segovia is a plane of tiny creatures. Oh, and by the way, when you summon creatures, you're allegedly pulling them from other planes. That's like old school Planeswalker lore. And remember, you playing the game as a player are a Planeswalker. So you're like literally pulling a creature that you met while Planeswalking from their plane into your plane to battle for you. I heard they've since retconned that, but that's how it worked. So if you summon something from Segovia, expect it to be like a little miniaturized version of what you would normally expect. So miniature angel, Segovia Angel. I get it. Then why is it gigantic in the artwork? Segovia, the plane of tiny creatures. Summon a Segovian Leviathan. It's f***ing huge. Now, I get it. It matches with it being a 3/3, but it doesn't match the initial problem, which is that it's huge in the artwork. If anything, call it Leviathan next to Segovian whales, because that would explain, oh, the Leviathan's normal size, the whales are what's small. So yeah, this does not make a damn ounce of sense. The only thing I can think of is like, oh, the Leviathan is small, the whales are small because it's a picture of Segovia, but the card says summon Leviathan, as in, this is what it looks like when you summon it. Not, here's a picture of it on its home plane before you summon it. And still, those whales would have to be like stupidly tiny, and then the Leviathan would have to be just mid-size. Like, I don't get how their explanation explains anything about the artwork on this card, because it doesn't. If they would have said, oh, the creatures are exceptionally big, but they're exceptionally weak from Segovia, that would make sense. But the size discrepancy, I don't get it. So anyway, Kelly's idea was to make the angel from Segovia as a way to explain its tiny size, even though evidently creatures from Segovia are freaking huge, according to Segovian Leviathan. Ethan liked the joke and shrunk the creature to a 1/1 to further play this up. So once again, guys, you know what would be even crazier, even madder than a 2/2 angel? 1/1! Oh, I'm a mad lad. They must just have like PCP dispensers there. This reminds me of like 8-year-olds playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Where they're like, look how big this is. Look what I can do. Oh, look at this combo. Oh, this is so overpowered and cool. Oh, this is so awesome. It's just immature and stupid. It's just like elementary school recess who can make up the bigger exaggeration BS. except it's adults and professionals doing their jobs. Attention everyone who works at Wizards. The next time you find yourself just a thought appearing in your head and the sentence to present it starts with, hey guys, you know what would be really crazy? Shut up. Just don't say it, don't suggest it, and most importantly, don't put it on a card. So there's a couple other little gems in this article, like he explains why they printed the swords. Mostly people have been asking for them, but they determined that no matter how they do the swords, they could either water them down and put them in standard, or they could leave them as is with the protection from 2 colors and the hit effect, aka a saboteur effect it's called. And they just could not put them in standard. They just said these are too powerful, we cannot put these into standard no matter what. Which evidently means they do have some sense of what's overpowered in standard. I guess they just use it selectively. So they're just like, hey, Modern Horizons, let's put it in this one. So yeah, go to Daily MTG and check out the rest of the article if you're really interested. I mean, he explains how the whole bears thing came about and why they designed it the way they did. He even says like specifically whose idea certain cards were and that kind of stuff. But I pointed out the absolute most crazy as all hell things in this article. So hopefully you guys found this as insightful as I did as to how Wizards designs things and comes up with cards way too quickly, way too stupidly, and apparently it's all just one giant joke and who can one-up each other and ha ha ha, what a funny joke, and then they actually put it on cards. I guess that's how they do things. Wow. That explains a lot. That has got to be how I sum up this wonderful article. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next video.